Hi guys, let's talk about the Trump administration's performance so far. Let's give it to the score of balanced scorecard, so to speak. It's a complicated issue, but we can, still think about it based on the preliminary data. I guess these days everybody's talking about the tariffs the Trump administration imposed, and also overall economic performance. People worried that the um, the stock market is kind of reacting badly, and everybody's worried about this. So, what do we look at this? I think in Trump's mind, if I can read his mind, is that he basically says that meet me 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years later, and then I'll show you how great I am. Right now, he basically admitted that the economy may suffer a little bit, but he basically says that's not to be worried because the U.S. has been sick for a while, for a long time. Obviously, not before him, right? So basically, in order to fix the problem, you suffer a little bit, right? Just like giving a shot, and you suffer a little bit. So those kind of a thing. So let's give it let's focus on the intermediate and the long term. By long term, I mean that he's talking about having another terms, let's say like 4 years. Um, I would say the chance for him to achieve greatly economically, just the economic. Let's talk about just the economics and nothing else. We take the ideology, take the politics out of it. I would say he may achieve something like some easy part, for example, to bring the manufacturing back to the U.S., and then he might be succeeded in chip making, you know, and also automations and the defense related the industry and manufacturing, but not the, overall. So in other words, we can make some sector of American economy great again, but not the entire American economy. So that's why do I say that the U.S. can only make some sectors great again, but not overall economy? Okay, there are several reasons. Number one, there is Trump has a mathematically we talk about the objective function. What do you want to achieve, right? Trump seems to have a conflicting objective function. So that's one important reason that he won't be successful. Uh, we know that he want to make right, make America great again. But America to make America great again, the number one issue is to take advantage or leverage the technology progress. Okay. Now, Trump, on the one hand, Trump says we want to make. On the other hand, he's giving a hard time to the scientists and driving people away from this country, especially those people with intellectual property rights. So that's one lousy way to do that. Okay. Number two is that in order for the system to work greatly, to make a great impression for everybody to see it, the problem is the best mobilizer. So in other words, the more severe problem, the easier for people to see your achievement. For example, in a traffic jam, it used to be like it takes 3 hours to go from San Francisco to San Jose. Now you cut it down to 30 minutes. Everybody will say, "Great job, great job." But on the other hand, let's look at the U.S. trade deficit. Okay, in 2024, the last year that we have data, U.S. trade deficit when combining goods trade and the service trade comes together to maybe a little bit over $900 billion. But on the same year, 2024, the US GDP is $29 trillion. So you basically comes up to 3% of the economy. Trump is making such a big deal saying, hey, everybody owes us a lot. We have to beat it. We have to, balance it. We have to charge reciprocal things. And so that's just you're exaggerating the problem. You're like it sounds like you're dying. The economy is dying. It all depends on you to save the economy. That's not the case. Simply not the case. Plus, you have to think about imposing a high tariff. It's like drinking poison to quench your thirst. Okay. So tariffs may, in the short run, you may have generated some revenue for the government to basically uh, cancel some national debt. But on the other hand, the tariff is never a win-win approach. Even for not, we're not even talk about a double win, but just for yourself. You know, so you're charging the higher taxes from the corporations, from consumers, and then that's not the, you know. So those kind of things. That's the second reason that the problem is not. It's being exaggerated. U.S. may have some problem, but it's not as big as the Trump is wants us to believe. Okay. Number three is that the U.S. has some um corporate inertia. So they they want to keep China away. By the way, China is not just cheap labor now. China is getting more intellectual property and getting a supply chain domestically, and then China is so every country, every economy has the best time to for performance. Once you miss that, you may be doomed. It's not impossible to fix that, but it costs much more higher cost and lower efficiency. So that's why I don't think that the U.S. can be the entire economy won't be great again. Okay, so just and also, by the way, by imposing tariffs, protective tariffs, a lot of U.S. For example, automakers, the technology is already behind, and then especially for electrical vehicles, and then now the American consumer don't even have access to the latest technology the Chinese created their EVs, and then you push them away. Basically, you protect them, and then that's generate a negative mindset. You're not thinking about competing with the Chinese, but you think about, okay, I'm protected by the tariff. Let's sleep. Okay, so those are the reasons.